welcome back to our wonderful series, Legends Turn to Ash. Now, today we're just gonna get right into chapter 6, so let's go! Legends Turn to Ash, Chapter 6, The Mutant and the Psychopath. Soon after midday, we set flight toward our destination. Unsure exactly where we were going, we flew and flew. Clouds passed by, the sun rose and fell, and daydreams persistently tried to pull me from reality. I analyzed everything around me, even the tiniest differences between Zephyr's and Alzora's maneuvers in the sky. Zephyr may be overconfident and arrogant, but he seemed to focus on the path ahead. His movements were filled with strong, flaming wing beats, and his tail sliced the wind in two. Alzora, on the other hand, tended to close her eyes and enjoy the wind against her scales, sometimes causing her to steer off course. Her demeanor matched her perfectly as she glided through the sky with swift, short wing beats, and a tail surfing behind. Asher had proven to be an odd boy, to say the least. He was so unsullied and young, yet he maintained a view on the world that no one else would. The chances of him hiding something was high, but the likeliness of it being bad was low. Throughout the flight, he was either fast asleep or passed out from fear of heights. Either way, he looked peaceful. Asher was innocent and naive, yet he was kind and provided us with new perspectives. Zephyr may have been stubborn at times, but he did mean well and was most likely the most informed in our group. Alzora, the dragon who has always seemed to have my back, also seemed to carry a split personality. She could be so optimistic at times and unbelievably pessimistic at others. The one thing that remained the same was her confidence, bravery, and perseverance toward her mission. It may have been only a few weeks since we first met, but I felt like we had been together for years. My new friends were also important to me, and I understood how they played a role in our mission. They were all talented and focused individuals who deserved to save this earth, but I was not. I was just the average child who attended an average high school. I worked hard to get A's, I doodled in class, and hung out with other students. On the big scale of life, that's all I was to anyone, but on a small scale, life was a little different. I was the weird one, who couldn't seem to hit up a conversation right, or the klutz who seemed to bump into someone accidentally, or mess up a lab. In my regular small-town human life, I was just an outcast who managed to make one friend. Other students saw me as that one weird person who sat in front of them in class. Sierra was my only friend up until now. We would always support each other, hang out, study, and have sleepovers. My life was entirely normal up until that day when Alzora kidnapped me from my field trip. From that point, everything changed. I felt alone, and on top of that, I was thrown into a save-the-world situation. I couldn't help but ask why. What was my role in this big adventure? How could someone with no special qualities or skills be expected to save both dragons and humankind? I only wanted everyone to be happy and able to fulfill their purpose. But how could I do that if I was just a burden? What could I do to help in this situation? Then it hit me. There was nothing else I could do except be myself for now. To make our mission work, I had to help as best as I could by being cheerful, even in sad times, and focusing on the frightening visions I continued to have. Maybe, if I could do that one little thing, I could fit in with them, fit in with the only creatures in the world who could save everyone. I continued to watch the hours fly along with the clouds, passing by in silence. I felt as if an anchor lifted from my shoulders. Alzora's tail did a quick twitch in the air as she glanced at me. "Hey, what are you thinking about?" Startled, I uncrossed my hands from behind my head, and with a slow and relieved tone, I answered, nothing at all." After a long flight, we had arrived in Georgia, at last. Not knowing where to start, Asher and I split up and headed into the nearest town to find more information on the location of the swamp. Luckily, Alzora and Zephyr found a cave to rest in while we searched the city. There were so many buildings compared to where I grew up. A mixture of shops, skyscrapers, and trees were scattered throughout the city, yet the air was fresh. To my surprise, there were few people on the streets, and I was careful as to who I asked about the swamp. "Excuse me," I said politely to the worker of a small toy shop. "Do you possibly know where Okefenokee Swamp is?" Sadly, he shook his head. No, sorry. Would you like to buy any of these toys? They just came in today. I smiled and sighed. No. Thank you. Thank you for your time, though. I asked one person after the next, but finding someone who even knew about the swamp, let alone where it was impossible. I'd spent a few hours searching when Asher and I happened to bump into each other. Hopeful, I smiled at him and asked, So, did you find anything? Oh, dude, they had these delicious caramelized peaches. They were so sweet and salty. I loved them. Oh, wait, you were probably talking about the swamp. I asked a couple of different people, and they didn't know. Then I tried making conversation, but I guess I was talking too much or they had to go or something because they ended up just walking away without a word. He replied happily. I wonder if they walked away because of that food you still have all over your face. Wait a minute. Since when did you start calling me dude? Oh, Asher, what am I going to do with you? Okay, I'm glad you helped yourself to a snack. I wanted to get a snack, but I was a little too focused on our current mission at hand, I mumbled. Asher tilted his head and looked at me confused. Huh? Clearing my throat, I quickly recovered. I was just saying that we haven't really found any information, so I guess we'll have to keep asking. How about her? She seems to like nature. Simultaneously, we both glanced over to a young girl about 18 years old with long blonde hair sitting on a bench feeding the birds. She was tall, much taller than Asher and I. Even from a good distance away, both Asher and I could tell that she was a very beautiful young lady. As we walked up to her, she was a bit startled. Hi, my name's Whisper, and this is Asher. You wouldn't by chance know where Okefenokee Swamp is, would you? She blankly blinked twice and shook her head. No, I'm so sorry. I wish I knew how to help you. I sighed once again, disappointed by our failure. Wait, she yelled as we began to walk away. Are you talking about that wildlife reservation that just opened up? I mean, I heard that it's a swamp and has a unique name that's kind of hard to pronounce. I don't know if that's the one you're looking for or not, but I thought I might as well tell you. My eyes jumped wide open and sparkled. Really? That's so awesome. Do you know where the swamp is? She closed her eyes for a minute to think and then opened them. Yeah, I'm pretty sure if you keep going southeast from here, you'll reach it. I mean, there should be a sign saying wildlife reservation or something, too. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. You were such a big help. What's your name, by the way? I asked excitedly. She smiled, happy to help, and answered, My name's Adenel. I'm glad I could help. Have fun there. I heard it's a really cool place. We will. Thank you, Adenel. As Asher and I turned and walked away, we both jumped in the air and high-fived. We may not have known for sure if it was the right place, but at least we had a good lead. It took a couple of minutes to get back to Alzora and Zephyr, but when we did, we had to make the toughest decision of our lives. They were both sleeping. Who was going to wake them up? So, who's waking them up? I asked Asher. He shrugged, slightly terrified, and held out his hands for rock, paper, scissors. I just happened to choose rock as he chose paper. He had trumped me at my own game. Guess that settles it, he said, snickering. I'm going to be behind that rock. I whimpered a bit as I tiptoed into the cave, but not a single breath left my body. Once I approached Alzora, I took in a deep breath and gently poked her wing. Instantly, her tail twitched and whipped across the ground, tripping me. Ow, I whined, accidentally releasing my breath. Alzora stretched, yawned, and smiled her devious, deadly, sinister smile. I'm sorry, we have to leave now, and, well, you were kind of asleep, and I had to wake you up, I said frantically as I backed away from her. I had no clue how she was going to react. She was a dragon, after all. To my surprise, she burst out in laughter, which was even more frightening. I still can't get over how idiotic and hilarious you humans are. I mean, seriously, what did you think I was going to do? Eat you? Attack you? Well, actually, maybe if I felt like it. Zephyr, meanwhile, groaned and covered his face with his talons. Would you keep it down? Some dragons need their beauty sleep. Lucky for me, Alzora chimed in this time. Oh, get up, you don't need any booty sleep, so pick up your fat, arrogant butt and let's get going. What did you say? He pounced up in anger, flames raging. I called out to Asher, who was still hiding behind the rock, and signaled him to come into the cave. Even as we mounted them and took off into the air, Zephyr and Alzora were still arguing. "Sorry to break up your little cat fight," I yelled, "but if you just head southeast of here for a couple more minutes, we should reach the swamp. I think we just passed the sign." Alzora listened for the first time in her life and said something somewhat positive. "Amazing, that was quick. I guess you were right after all about the swamp, Whisper." From that point, it only took 30 minutes to get to the swamp, and once we arrived, I started to regret all of the effort I put into finding this place. The swamp was breathtaking, absolutely spectacular. Hundreds of skinny, tall trees rose from the murky green water, and birds flew from the treetops. The only issue was that insects were everywhere. Dragonflies and gnat-like bugs hovered over the water. Beetles and green grasshopper-like insects crawled on the soil beneath us. At first sight of them, I snapped my eyes shut. In my only attempt to open them, I noticed Asher was playing with the beetle. Based on Alzora's attitude, I could tell that she was annoyed with me still on her back. "Get off already." With my arms still wrapped around her and my eyes closed, I refused. "No." Astonished, she barked back at me. "And why not?" No reason. I just want to sit here for a bit." At the worst time, a dragonfly landed on my arm and I screamed bloody murder. "My ears!" Alzora yelled, annoyed. Zephyr, in the background, chuckled to himself. "Ha, I would never have imagined that a little pest like you would be terrified of insects. It's not like they can do anything except provide me with a decent nutritional snack." "Stop it," I yelled with tears of fear forming in my eyes. "Just get it off." Instead of doing anything, Alzora continued to whine about her ears and subconsciously held them down. Asher, on the other hand, was kind enough to come and help me take the dragonfly off, who at this point was trying to get into my hair. "There you go, little guy," he said as he released it into the wild. "I don't get what you're so afraid of. They're cute." I was positive that I gave him the look of a crazy person. Cute? Did he just say cute? Well, of course he would say that. No way is anything like that cute. They are ugly, and their only purpose in life is to get caught in people's hair. My streak of bad luck continued as I realized the sun was setting and we would have to set up camp for the night. We spent way too much time in the city. If we would have finished earlier, then we may have been able to get in and out of this place before dark. The exact spot we landed in was suitable for camping. It would have been perfect if it weren't for the fact there were so many insects. It was times like these where I was glad I brought a big blanket to wrap myself in. It would somewhat protect me from the bugs. We ended up getting ourselves situated in our camping area, and Alzora headed out into the swamp area for a bit. Eventually, she came back in a better mood after catching some swamp fish. I wasn't too sure how safe those fish were to eat, though, or if they were endangered or not. I mean, this was a reservation after all. Then again, the whole earth was endangered at this time, and Zephyr had roasted the poor fish anyway. Asher and I quickly devoured the nearly burnt fish, and I laid my blanket across the warm, moist soil. It was an unusual sight for us to camp, so Alzora and Zephyr slept relatively close together to form a safe circle for the night. We were all bunched together and ready to fall asleep, no questions asked. I had managed to get a couple of hours of sleep before waking up from another vision. It was from that same dragon as before, the mutant. However, this time he was crying. What was that? Why am I crying too? I don't feel sad, so why are these tears rolling down my face? Is he here somewhere? Why else would I have the same vision twice? Silently, I rose and wandered into the swamp forest with the bright full moon as my guide. The night was so peaceful, yet something about it didn't feel right. After staring at the moon for a while, I realized that I had somehow been turned around. Well, I'll find them sometime, not a big deal. I always somehow instinctively find my way back. In the far distance, I caught a glimpse of what looked like neon green eyes staring at me from far away in the water. Well, that's not creepy at all. Okay, so maybe it wasn't a good idea to wander out here alone. In a split second, whatever had been stalking me sprang from the swamp. Of course, my natural response was to run, so that's what I did. I ran, and screamed a lot. Based on its shadow, it looked like it could be a dragon, but there was no way I was going to turn around to confirm my suspicion. "Wait," the creature panted from behind as it chased after me. Ignoring the mysterious talking, I continued to run until I was out of breath. My heart pounded with each step and nearly burst out of my chest. My legs ran, but they left my mind behind with fearful, restless thoughts. It's so dark, I can't see anything out here. For all I know, I'm about to fall into the deep, danger-filled swamp water. On top of that, something huge and loud is stalking me, and probably wants to eat me or kill me in horrible, agonizing ways. I just have to run and keep running. I don't know how long I can keep this up. I'm terrified and I don't have the mental and physical strength to keep going. I continued to run with all my strength until I tripped over what felt to be a huge log. Ow, that hurt, I whined, glancing at my leg. A sharp pain jerked through my leg and a small flow of blood trickled down through my torn pants into the mud. I groaned a little and realized that I wasn't the only one groaning. Hesitantly, I turned my head around to look behind me. There was a lump-like figure on the ground. Startled, I jumped up, stood still, and ignored the burning pain in my right kneecap. Pinching my eyes closed, I took a deep breath and held it for dear life. In a matter of seconds, I could hear the mud sliding beneath the figure's feet as they frantically rose and stood. Who the heck tramples over a guy when he's sleeping? The deep, loud voice seemed to come from a teenage boy, and he sounded extremely angry. I blinked for a second and fled the sight once again. The only difference was that the person who was chasing me now was much faster and louder. I could hear him in the distance screaming about how he was going to get me back, or something along those lines. No matter what it was, I didn't plan on letting him catch me. What is up with this stupid, freaky swamp? First a wild animal stalks me, and now some random weirdo who just happened to be sleeping in the middle of the muddy, slippery swamp wants to murder me. Just great. All I wanted to do was clear my mind outside for a bit. And this is what happens? It's slippery over here. Am I seriously going to slip and fall? That would be kind of bad. Oh man, I'm running out of breath, not to mention getting cramps. I just have to keep running. Fear truly smacked me in the face when I entered a small clearing. The deep swamp water surrounded the clearing and laughed at my helplessness. I was cornered, and with each step I grew closer toward the water. Crap, what do I do? There's no way I will go into that water. Who knows what kind of parasites or man-eating creatures live in there? Oh no, here he comes. Maybe I should just start crying. I mean, guys are weak to that, right? As the rampaging teenage boy trampled through the rising swamp trees into the moonlit clearing, I noticed he wasn't as scary as I originally thought. Don't get me wrong, he was still terrifying. But mostly that was because he was charging toward me with threatening words of murder on his tongue. His outfit reminded me of a ninja's, mostly because of the color scheme and style. His hair was abnormally white and spiky, with light blue tips at the end of each strand. It was as if his hair had turned white from electrocution. Slowly coming to a stop, he threw both of his arms to his side and opened his hands. I thought I was hallucinating, but I wasn't. Tiny blue bolts of electricity were sprouting from his hands, and he smirked at my expression. Now that I have you where I want you, you are in for a world of pain. Get ready, because I'm gonna. Not even finishing his sentence, or shall I say threat, the mystery boy fell to the ground and started snoring. I didn't know what to say or even think, so I just stood there. I stood there in that same frozen position and stared at the dangerous, frightening boy who was sleeping right in front of me. What did I just witness? Was he sleep rampaging this whole time? Oh, and what the heck was up with those lightning bolts in his hands? I mean, humans can't do that, right? I was soon broken out of my shocked state when I overheard more crashing through the swamp. This time, what pounced into the moonlight was the turtle dragon, the same turtle dragon that was in my dreams. It was the exact same dragon that was crying and for some reason caused me to shed tears as well. There wasn't time to take in detail because he was charging at me with alarming speed. I noticed that he was trying to stop himself, but the mud was winning. He tripped, rolled, and rolled some more, straight in my direction. Before I knew what had happened, I felt a jab in my gut and found myself flung into the air, heading straight down into the swamp. I flailed my arms and screamed, disregarding the fact that the dragon was flailing as well. With an annoyingly loud splash, we both hit the warm water and came out coughing. Eek, what just touched me? Was it a fish? Oh my gosh, something is touching my leg, which still stings, by the way. What just happened? Frustrated, I glanced up only to see Elzora staring at me from a tree, laughing uncontrollably. "Oh, I'll give you something to laugh about in a minute," I mumbled angrily. Slowly but surely, I made my way back to the clearing and crawled out of the water. There wasn't a single dry, non-muddy part of my body, and I was so done with everything that was going on. Soon after, the turtle dragon dragged his sorry butt onto the clearing and apologized frantically. I, on the other hand, didn't even bother to stand up and just laid on the muddy earth like a miserable starfish. Finally getting the chance to take in the dragon's appearance, I noticed that instead of horns, he had a long fin-looking spike that traveled all the way down his back and tail. Skipping the shell, he had a dark blue body with light blue oval accents and deep purple wings. His chest plates were thick and yellow, and a large brown and green spiky shell covered his back. There were yellow gills on the side of his neck. I didn't have much experience with dragons, but he was definitely interesting looking. The turtle dragon leaned over me, accidentally dripping even more water on me, and introduced himself. Hello, I'm Oogie. I was the one reaching out to you in your dreams. It's kind of a thing I do. Oh, and I should probably mention that it bonds my emotion to yours as well. So sorry about that. Don't worry, though. I can't do it all the time, so it's fine. Also, I'm really sorry I scared you earlier. You run really fast. Did you know that? That human over there, Jacer, he's my buddy. Well, I mean, not really. I'm pretty sure he hates me. I didn't fling you into the water on purpose, so sorry about that, too. I really didn't mean to cause you any harm. You're Whisper, right? I lifted my head, dropped it back down onto the mud again, and sighed. Yeah, that's me. You know what? I just don't care anymore, so if you'll excuse me, I'm going to sleep. Right here and right now. As I shifted from consciousness to unconsciousness, I heard Elzora within earshot spouting something abruptly. So, are you part of the Earth-saving trio, the lightning pair? Oogie shifted his webbed talons a bit and glanced at Jacer. Yeah, I guess you could say that, though I don't know what to do now. My job was just to lead you to us. I smiled and chuckled. Great, isn't this just great? Something tells me things are going to start changing on this adventure. Whatever. For now, I'm going to sleep. I'm going to sleep in the mud, just like that crazy human boy over there. That is all for Chapter 6, my dear viewers, and make sure you stay tuned and be sure to always leave comments. I do appreciate what you're saying. So, yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Bye!